Alright, time for another DraftPhysics.com video presentation. Alright, so there are some troll comments, and so I guess we'll deal with some of those. One of them has a link in it. Very exciting. Just too silly, so we might as well we'll get that over with. So this demonstrates absolutely nothing inconsistent with anything I've said, certainly, and it certainly doesn't prove that you can keep your momentum and heat a surface, or change a surface, or move a surface, or dent a surface, or, they use the word deformation. It's really not just about deformation. It's about stuff actually leaving, stuff moving. It's about radiating heat, lots of things. Energy is never destroyed. So all we're really talking about is the energy has to go somewhere. It either goes in the direction you're going, conservation, you conserved it, you transferred it in the direction you're going, or you transfer it in some other direction. And that's really all it's about. So a 12-second video. Yes, this proves everything. So he drops an object, and look at that. It leaves a warm spot. Okay, obviously the object didn't return with the same momentum. So obviously the energy had to go into the two surfaces, because there was nowhere else to go. It can make noises. It can do all kinds of things. It can put a dent in the surface. But again, this really isn't inelastic collisions, right? Because we know if they were inelastic, that is, they can't deform, okay, then this isn't going to happen. The two objects are going to reject each other, and you're going to basically have what came in is going to bounce back out, okay? So it's not really perfectly inelastic. It's to some extent elastic, and it's certainly to some extent dentable or heatable, and so useless. So it proves nothing that's part of the contention. This certainly doesn't do anything to explain how a dime going 1,000 miles an hour has 1,000 times the energy of 2 kilograms going 1 mile an hour. It certainly doesn't provide any insight whatsoever in how all this extra energy is created. So again, the momentum wasn't conserved, clearly, and so some heat was created. Yeah, that makes perfect sense. I am not countering that argument. So, of course, useless crap. Anyway, so I guess this video, there's only one thing that's going to solve this, and that is there has to be a debate, because we don't have physical evidence yet. All right, now I'm soliciting this evidence. I've asked people to create the evidence. Can't find any takers yet. So name your price to do the experiments. The simple experiment where you shoot stuff with a spring and demonstrate that the lighter stuff leaves with much greater energy than the slower stuff, the heavier stuff. That the spring doesn't get the energy into the object, and so the momentum's conserved, but the energy isn't, because somehow there's energy lost somewhere, or whatever. Simple experiment. Shoot things with springs, collect things with springs, blah blah blah. Been over it already. So give me your price for doing it. I mean, how much do I have to pay somebody to do it well? And then the other part of it is just a reasoning argument. Do you think Newton actually thought this was good physics, invented by his worst enemy? Do you account for the history at all? Do you think the fancy pantses in France and Germany in the 1700s doing physics experiments with clay, do you think that's the definition of good science? I mean, answer my question. Do you think that's the definition of good science? To actually physically quote mine the experiments. Deliberately go out in the world and try to find experiments that prove what you're saying and completely ignore all the ones that say the opposite. Do you think that's how good science is born? That's where we get to the truth. Yes or no? Do you think the history of the kinetic energy formula has integrity as good science? That at any point it wasn't just a contrivance? That you just defended something you should have never accepted in the first place? That's what all the evidence indicates. Do you have any evidence that it isn't just a contrivance to make something work that never worked? It was never right. Do you have anything to provide as evidence in the historical record of this being good physics? Because it's not, clearly. And then we can go into all the thought experiments. the questions that haven't been answered. So in debate, I mean, all of these answers will be gotten. Now, I got an answer from a troll. I mean, he says this silly thing. So, but that's not a victory, right? Because nobody's going to say, well, that's science talking. The silly troll's answer isn't going to be a defense from science. Okay, so they'll just say, I straw man science by asking a moron, and the moron said something stupid, like Piro. So, that's not going to be of any value. But anyway, how much do I have to pay, all right, for the right to ask you questions and have you answer the fucking questions? How much do I have to pay you? And I'll pay you based on how credible you are. So if you're a degreed physicist, I might pay you real money to answer the stupid questions. So if you have you have to be able to you have to be accountable for what you say to some extent. So based on how accountable you'll be, I'll also pay you more. So if you'll do video and audio, okay, or you just do audio, but if you're going to do disguised audio or just text, I'm not going to pay you very much. Because you're not a very credible spokesperson for science. I need a credible piece of your science institution to defend your science. And I'm asking you, how much do I have to fucking pay you? I mean, is this too complicated? You won't do it because you love science. You won't do it to protect the integrity of your science. You won't do it for the truth. Well, will you do it for money? And how fucking much? Is this too difficult for you? Is this too difficult for your science to actually say, okay, I'll answer your questions, your valid scientific questions, if you pay me enough? Well, give me the damn fucking price. Anyway. Yeah. So, I mean, this isn't, so all there is these non-responses. See, there's no point in me making a half-hour video drawing things, explaining things, when there's nothing responsive to the questions raised. Do you think, okay, you can 100% transfer momentum, or even 99% or 98.5%, transfer the momentum to another object, and then create, 50% more energy in the form of heat and moving stuff around? Do you think that's possible? Do you think you can make things move with something other than momentum? I mean, is there something besides your mass and the velocity of your mass bits that pushes anything in the universe? Can you give me an example of somewhere where that happens? No. So the argument should be over already, but you can't deal with that simple truth. No, momentum is the truth. Newton thought so. You're disagreeing with Newton. Newton was wrong, you're saying. I'm asking you, explain what Newton didn't understand. Explain what Newton wasn't seeing. I mean, Newton saw that things got hot. See, they all talked about the fact that, well, when the energy isn't obvious, when you put two things that are moving and they stop moving, well, the energy is now moving stuff in other directions. They already had that piece, in terms of at least a piece of conversation. They didn't understand it thermodynamically, let's say, in the terms of conservation, but they did understand conservation. They did understand that movement keeps moving through the environment, that it doesn't need to be put in there by God. Anyway. So this is just irrational mush. Another example of how you use Google to do your dirty work. I don't like anything about Google. I don't defend any of its practices. All these comments should be indexed by the Google search engine. And certainly they're now even become unreadable. So there's nothing about Google I'm defending. So fuck you. I left a comment. Yeah, it's already down there, gazillionth time. Yeah, you haven't done anything for the gazillionth time. You haven't provided one single piece of credible physical evidence. Not a single link. Okay, and one of your useless drones left a comment. Yes, explaining that you didn't answer the questions in the video. You didn't answer a single point in the video. Your comment was completely irrelevant to every single thing said or proposed in the video. So he says the comment doesn't appear when he goes incognito. Again, this is all not my problem, so I'm not even gonna. Yeah, fuck this. Okay, YouTube's problem with comments is YouTube's problem with comments. We all have to deal with it. We all have to get around it. That's it. So too fucking bad, asshole. All right. So here he says it again. He takes another comment, wastes everybody's time. So this is just a troll, El Dunso or something. You know, a week-old account, blah, blah, blah. So another, I left a comment, so it's the same exact crap again. You know, too fucking stupid. Alright, so this idiot just posts this stupid mathematical horse shit again. So I already did the math video. Yeah, there's different ways you derive it, but you're doing it right here. Work equals MA, 1/2 AT. Says you. Says fucking you. There's no example of it. What Newton said was force equals the change in the momentum. So you change the momentum, it'll be proportional to the amount of force that acted on something. Because force is momentum and momentum is energy. So again, you haven't discounted any of that with this crap. All right. Oh, you can't even read these comments. They're falling on top of each other. I have to resize the window to get the comments to be readable. It's just so fucking stupid. All right, so I say, look, you know, this is an asshole again who left 3 different comments. It's just such bullshit. Confine yourself to 1 comment or fuck off, okay? If you can't figure out that you don't post 3 or 5 or 10 comments on one person's video, it's absolutely obnoxious. I don't know how anybody could think that's anything other than just throwing litter out the window or something, or playing your radio way too loud. What the fuck? You're not that important. Okay, none of this crap has anything to do with the collisions where momentum is exchanged. These derivatives are for circumstances like gravity where there's a constant force being applied over a distance. So again, they overtly say it. Real physicists will overtly say, well, this is what you use when there's a constant force. It doesn't have anything to do with impulse exchanges. So again, it's just horse shit. Okay, if you're going to argue relevant to what was in the video, you need to answer the simple fucking questions. Which you don't. Okay, do you think a 5-ton train going 10 miles an hour can do twice the work of a 10-ton train going 5 miles an hour? Do you think you can create heat or deformation or transfer 100% of the momentum to another object? Can I make the momentum go from here to here and make a bunch of other stuff move in here too? No, you can't. All right. Any deformation or heat has to come out of your momentum. Anytime there's any friction, you slow down, you lose momentum. Fact. You can't have friction and maintain your speed. You can't have friction and give 100% of your momentum to something else. It's so stupid, nobody should really have to argue that. All right. So this idiot says, deleting comments is rude as long as the comment isn't clearly trolling or spam. So clearly, that's all your comments are. So this is coming from a person who's spoofing somebody else's account. So it's no doubt Farley. So he's stolen somebody else's image, stole somebody else's screen name. So he's basically an identity thief talking about ethics. You see how just so ludicrous this gets. So I say ethics lessons from someone spoofing someone else's channel, effectively an identity thief. Just too ridiculous. This is too ridiculous. And then some asshole comments on that. But another asshole, it's the same Farley troll, right? Ethics class, don't put words in Newton's mouth until you read his works. Well, you read them, because you won't find anywhere in there where he says something like, wow, it's magical. Things that are going fast have so much more energy. It's just incredible. In some cases, thousands of times more energy. Even though they have the same momentum, it has thousands of times more energy. I don't know how I could figure out where Haley's comment was based on, I didn't know what the fuck real physics was because I was totally clueless. I was such a fucking idiot. No, those aren't Newton's words. Newton didn't write anywhere about your fucking magical energy. It was against his physics. Clearly it was composed exactly as an attack against his physics. So you're just pretending. It's a silly pretense. Are you going to lie some more? If I ask you the question, do you think it's really Newton's physics? Do you think Newton believed what you believe? Are you going to answer yes, you fucking retard? How fucking full of shit can you be? So I'll just remove that asshole for now. I'll just block this one, though, because identity thief is bad. Okay? Stop doing it, asshole. So here's his gazillionth time. So just absolute, this is just, you couldn't get more disconnected from what was actually stated in the video. I mean, this is just generic mush. doesn't deal anything with the paradoxes created. So he says for the gazillionth time, which, yeah, the gazillionth time of you farting is totally irrelevant. If your train cars stick together, they lose kinetic energy in the process. Says you. So you have no demonstration of anything. All right, so just absolutely none. So there's no evidence of any of that energy. So when you drop the weight on the car from a very short distance, the cars maintain their momentum, with a tiny amount of loss. And there's just no evidence of any of this rest of this. Nothing caught fire. There's no evidence of half the energy. You're saying half the energy of the car has been dissipated somewhere. You have no experimental evidence that half the energy was lost or that it went anywhere. And all the evidence indicates that if I crash both of those trains into the same spring, they have the same momentum and they have the same energy. I can't ever measure your fake energy. That's the assertion. Your obligation is to show it being measured. You'll never produce the evidence because it doesn't exist, because it's a preposterous, silly notion. Okay, it's an inelastic collision. The momentum stays the same, not the kinetic energy. So this is all you're telling a fable. You're talking about how Jesus walked on water. Well, do you have any evidence that he did this? Okay, the total energy is conserved. Says you. Okay, the total energy is always conserved. Energy is always conserved, but it's always in the form of momentum. Everything that's moving has momentum. That's the rules. And you make something move by hitting it with something that's moving. Those are the rules, retard. Okay, but it transforms into heat or vibration or deformation, says you. So again, you show no evidence of half the energy doing any of that. So show me the infrared pictures of the train getting red hot. Show me some evidence that the energy went somewhere and went into the other train, that you did both. I feel like I should be able to retain that info. So that info is absolutely useless. You have zero evidence of it, and it's all just magical. You're saying that momentum isn't movement, and that movement isn't what you transfer to other things. So a bowling ball doesn't transfer its momentum to the bowling pins. It transfers magical kinetic energy. Again, no evidence of it. Not a single piece of experimental evidence demonstrating that to be true. All right. So Perspective Fact says, your comment doesn't respond to DraftScience arguments against your claim. You are claiming a collision can make heat or deformation without the trains losing momentum. So at least there we have the overt statement. Yes, I'm claiming that a collision can make heat and deformation without the system losing momentum. Whatever system means now, right? So, I don't know. But clearly the two objects the object has the momentum. You're following the momentum of the train, retard. Okay, you're saying that you can lose it to friction. You can move atoms. You can make sounds. And still transfer it 100% to another train. No, you can't. And you'll never show a piece of evidence doing that. All right, so get off your lazy ass and go test it out. So again, they've had 350 years to defend this silly argument of theirs with a piece of evidence, and in 350 years they can't produce any evidence, except clay experiments, again. So are you going to say clay is a legitimate way to test energy? That's a very good test instrument. Is that going to be your argument? Much better than a spring. So lazy off and go test it out if you don't believe me, you pause, whatever that means. So again, yeah, of course I don't believe you because there's no evidence defending what you're saying, shit for brain. All right, so we just post more crap. Wash. Wow. I don't know how anything works. I don't understand anything. Get off Facebook. Get off. No, I don't see. So no point. I shouldn't even have bothered. Okay. So we'll just block El Dunso. Just the trolls, just Farley. So again, no counter argument, but this is the argument. So at least we have Piro saying it. Now we have this troll saying it. So they're making this assertion that yes, okay, that's what can happen. You can completely transfer momentum and do a lot of other things with the same energy, and no problem. No, you can't. All right. Okay, so that's that. Yeah, so we dealt with the rest of it. Yeah, so that's the end of those comments. Yeah, so I'll pause and make some more final remarks, and that'll be it. There's really no point, right? Until the questions get answered and it's shown there's no evidence to back up the answers. So they're just going to make the assertion. Piro's going to say that somehow springs don't allow slow things to go, somehow either one of the things breaks. The spring somehow can't make the energy go into the light object, or somehow it can't make the energy go into the slow object. I don't know which one exactly he says is broken. But somehow the energy doesn't get into the objects. So the spring is really lying. It's not storing the energy accurately. I don't know. It's just absolute nonsense that's proven by just doing the experiment. I'm just saying the experiment that we all sort of can know from real life that we've already done, which is, that if you push something into the spring, that's a certain amount of energy, and if I put something twice as light on the spring, it's going to go twice as fast. And I'm going to collect the same amount of compression. And those rules are solid. So anyway. So this is just a completely unevidenced theory. It has no good history. It's just a horrible history. It's completely anti-Newton. The universe is completely a different place. If you use kinetic energy to decide how things move in the universe, it's a completely different place with kinetic energy versus Newton's momentum. Every time an asteroid hits, every single event that takes place is a completely different event, and the universe changes in a completely different way if you run those two systems. If you run the model of the universe with the kinetic energy theory, and you run a model of the universe with the momentum theory, the two universes will do nothing similar. All right, they'll be very different universes. And so this is what the science historians say is semantics. It's just an argument about semantics. Completely different universes functioning completely different ways. This is not semantics. This is not argument over, high and elevated. Okay, this is not semantics. This is not a mere challenge to verbiage. No, it's a challenge to an idea, and the idea was imposed by a religious kook. It was defended by New Agers, crystal people. And then it was just rationalized by mathematicians. It has nothing to support it. No good evidence. It's just Ken Wheeler, ferrocell bullshit right in the middle of physics. And that's the argument. That's the claim they need to defend. They need to explain how it's not garbage. Complete and absolute shit as science. It has no evidence. It's not reasonable. It creates paradoxes. It has a crappy history. Can they fix any of those arguments? Can they counter them with any evidence? Again, I can just quote Leibniz. Newton's physics is too austere. There's no role for God to play. Yeah, that should be enough. So anyway, so how much do I have to pay you? Come on, anybody. Yeah, do you have a physics degree? Do you really think these professionals know what they're doing, and you wish to defend them? How much do I have to pay you to make the argument, to explain how I'm fundamentally and overtly wrong, how something in what I've said in these videos is completely wrong? Can you show any evidence to demonstrate it to be wrong? No. How much do I have to pay you to try? How much do I have to pay you to throw your integrity in the garbage, essentially, and answer the actual questions posed in the videos? Now, let's understand, the questions are right on the website. I had a little bit at the end that's a little bit redundant. Do you think a 5-ton, 10-mile-an-hour train can do twice as much work as a 10-ton train going 5 miles an hour? Do you think you can create heat or deformation and transfer 100% of your momentum to another object? I mean, again, this idea of not understanding that momentum is about things hitting other things. That's all. It's just you transfer it. The friction is a transfer. I lose. If I got 100 and I give 5 to a piece of the surface, then I have 95 left. And if I give it to another thing, then I have 94 left. I make sound, then I have 82 left. Anything I move with my momentum means I used it. I gave it to something else. I can't 100% transfer it and move a bunch of other stuff. Can't do it. How can you argue that? How can you think you're smart or intelligent or reasonable and argue that, no, that's not the way it works, when it's obviously the way it works? All you have is your momentum. You just have pieces moving. And when a piece moves and it transfers its energy to something else, it's not moving anymore. Shit. So obvious. Anyway, yeah, so that's it. So until you people grow some integrity and recognize that, this is to have any kind of to call this any kind of reasonable process. My burden of proof is not higher than your burden of proof. If you're going to assert it's true, then you have to produce evidence, right? Or you have to produce reasoning, connected, that can make it, you have to be able to draw the picture. You're saying that there's some magical entity inside of something. Because of its extra velocity, somehow it can give more momentum away because it has more velocity. That somehow it can give more movement to the world. That you don't have to just add up the 70 miles an hour. Well, I gave something else 30 miles an hour. That means I only have 40 left. Blah, blah, blah. Show me a diagram of how your universe works. Show me the dime imposing 2,000 joules of energy on the universe, and show me the 2 kilograms only imposing 4 joules of energy on the universe. Show me that. Or 2. Anyway. So, till the next time and such. Yeah, there's nothing else. I'll just leave it at that. Just very disappointing. But what are you going to do? Endeavor to persevere, that's what. So this has been a DraftPhysics.com video presentation. So yeah, I'm just going to go back to just blocking. If you can't use an account that's more than a couple weeks old, don't bother.